Mammy, fat, black, and nappy Aunt Jemima in a headscarf. Dark, round and wide, quick to tan the hide, she is Big Mama, Grandma, Mama, and Mama. Everybody's Aunt Sarah. Her children are her children, and your children are her children, and their children are her children that she calls from down the block, up the block, around the block, and down to the corner. Little Jack Horners, plus they're serving jigaboos and jungle bunnies. Saturnine and asexual, used to breed and bear. Never a heart to share, no man, no love, no splits, no tips, just baby making hips. Used to produce kids and more kids to nurse, even if they're not hers. And discipline. Ridden by whips all across her back, her strength, her resilience, envious of everyone and no one. The backbone raised on neck bones, cooking up Creole gumbo and dirty South chitlins in a big pot that she loves a lot, with a wide smile and a big old laugh to hide the fact that she too is hashtag me too. When I was 3, my mother says that I asked her to put me in dance class. I began at Mayfair Academy on Chicago's South Side, but I flourished at Sammy Dyer School of Theater. Ballet, tap, jazz, acrobatics, drama, and vocal lessons. We did it all in blue eyeshadow and red lipstick. We didn't have recitals. We had shows with extravagant costumes and long titles. Cindy, Lucky Dollar, Everything Old is New Again. We performed in theaters, the Regal. Drury Lane had a square stage and no curtain. That means the audience could see you at your every turn and your every mistake. The first time I performed in this theater, I was 7 or 8, still taking intermediate level classes learning to pirouette. And I looked up to the big girls of 15, 16, 17, and 18 who could do everything. One thing 4 of them did was dance to Nina Simone's 4 Women. I have loved and been haunted by this song since 1994. My skin is black. My arms are long. My hair is woolly, and my back is strong. I would sit in Studio A of our Michigan Avenue building, and I would watch the big girls during their rehearsals, and I would marvel at their strength. During the show, I always snuck out from backstage in the dressing room, sat way back in the wing between the rows of audience members so that I could watch the big girls perform in their beautiful costumes as their skirts moved about them on the stage, and I would marvel at their beauty. My favorite woman was Peaches. Her skin is brown, and her manner is tough. She'll kill the first mother she sees because her life has been rough. Back then, I didn't fully understand the content of Miss Simone's lyrics. It wasn't until much later I realized that song, that dance, was my life, my story. The first time I truly became aware of my blackness and my femaleness and my womanhood, I was in college. I had just finished one of those long 6 to 8:30 p.m. classes in the Williams building on FSU's campus. I left out of the back door of the English department, and I walked down the block toward the stadium where my car was parked from where I had classes earlier in the day in the communications department. And as I walked, I talked on my hot pink LG Razr flip phone to one of my roommates who was already back at our apartment. We always liked to check up on each other when we came in late at night, because the last thing one of the 4 of us wanted to do was to call a missing roomie's mother and explain what we had either been lost or stolen. So I walked and we talked, and I remember my hair was in a big round afro. I had one side pulled to the back with a barrette. I wore a long denim skirt, large hoop earrings, and I carried my class materials in a tote bag. And I walked and we talked, and I paid the cars driving past me no attention. That is until one car, a pickup truck, drove by, and the 2 occupants inside yelled loud enough so that I could hear them. "Fuck you, nigger bitch!" My only retort in my abject hopelessness was, "What the?" I was walking, they were driving, and we were nowhere near a light. Even if we were, it wasn't like I was going to approach their truck. I was angry, not stupid. And my friend, the one on the phone, the one from New York, the one from Queens, was like me, the girl from the south side of Chicago, ready to fight. But we weren't. Not with our hands, and certainly not with our words, because we had yet to learn such racial slurs were and are just par for the course. I stand before you today in all of my blackness, in all of my femaleness, and in all of my womanhood to talk about a subject that is easily dismissed if you are not both black and female. And that is the need for representation, the need for a woman like me, women like me to be represented everywhere and in all spaces, because representation matters. Representation matters because without me, there would be no you. And I don't mean that in the existential way that science says Africa is the cradle of life, and so if life began in Africa, then everyone you are looking for and are connected to on Ancestry.com lived and died in Africa. That may be true, but that's not what I mean. I mean that without my blackness and my femaleness being at the bottom to catch the scraps of what the world has to offer, there would be no pathway for your very own success. Without my blackness and my femaleness being historically marginalized and cast aside at the bottom rung of every ladder, corporate or otherwise, and the reason for which patriarchy and privilege flourish. Without my blackness and my femaleness being here and available to take on all of that, you could not be you. For example, Alyssa Milano could not be the virulent catalyst behind Me Too and the wrecking ball of male privilege and the male gaze in industries across the country and around the globe without the work of Tarana Burke. In popular culture, it is the elevation of the cast of Friends over Khadijah, Regine, Maxine, and Sinclair from Living Single. Elvis over Big Mama Thornton. The forgiveness of Justin at the Super Bowl over Janet. The automatic deal for Lena Dunham versus the slow burn of undeniable talents of Issa Rae. It is the wholesome depictions of Melania, Laura, Abigail, Martha, all 44 other First Ladies, versus the demeaning characterization and radicalization of Michelle that was never true. Megyn Kelly over Tamron Hall. The booty and lip injectors versus the natural around the way girls. The models who wear Brillo pads on their heads versus a model with a kitchen full of kinks. It is the executive with his bachelor's versus the low-level staffer who has her master's. It is the whole dollar for a white man to black women's pittance of 67 cents. It is the casual awareness of these seemingly slight injustices without the prescient sense to realize that these seemingly slight injustices are detrimental to an entire group of people. In 2016, the National Center for Education Statistics found that by race and by gender, there is a higher percentage of African American women enrolled in bachelor's, master's, and doctoral programs in the United States. Headline proclaimed black women as the most educated group in the country. But what have our degrees done for us lately? From Hollywood to Fashion Week, Fortune 500 companies to small businesses and co-working spaces across the country, there are black women around you who you know, but don't. The ones who smile at you with tired eyes and tight lips, ready to share and read you if you pop off like a Kathy Ray. Are you aware that we live, dwell, exist, and get our entire lives together in spaces of black excellence and black girl magic? We greet each other with, "Come through, queen. Yes, honey, work. Your hair is laid, edges slayed, eyebrows on fleek. Oh, girl, you know it's all about that contour and conditioner. Ooh, child, your curls are popping. Melanin is magnificent. Hashtag goals." But when we leave our uplifting bottomless brunches, close the latest meme of our group chat, or exit a fixed Facebook quiz on our future, we are left to face the world that is harsh in its depiction of red-blooded women just trying to exist who happen to have a darker pigment. A world you don't realize as a child is very much informed by the mainstream images we all see. Representation matters. In 2012, I didn't really understand why Kerry Washington landing scandal and becoming the first African-American woman to play a lead role in a network drama in some 40-odd years was a thing. I felt like I grew up seeing black women on TV. Karen Molina White and Malcolm and Eddie, Harriet on Family Matters, The Cosby Show, A Different World, Hanging with Mr. Cooper, Moesha, The Parkers, For Your Love, Girlfriends, The Game. I grew up seeing black women like me on TV, so I didn't understand why Carrie and Scandal and later Viola Davis and How to Get Away with Murder was a thing. Until I realized the majority of those shows I just named for you were not on the big three, NBC, ABC, CBS, four if you count Fox. And if they were, they are still all sitcoms. Representation matters, from the masthead to the byline of glossy magazines and traditional black and white print publications. Representation matters in our politics. Black women make records when we turn out to vote. Just look at the election of Doug Jones over Roy Moore in Alabama. We did that. Or the election of Keisha Lance Bottoms as the first African-American woman mayor in the city of Atlanta. Yet, there has never been a black woman president. Hashtag still waiting on Oprah or Michelle to get their lives. And we have only our second African-American woman U.S. Senator in Kamala Harris, the first being Carol Moseley Braun from my hometown of Chicago. Data from the Reflective Democracy campaign shows that white men make up just 30% of the U.S. population, but account for 65% of elected officials. Representation matters. Black women, we are seen, archetyped, and stereotyped as mammies, welfare queens, Jezebels, sapphires. We're seen as loving and nurturing, always ready to take care of somebody's kids. Or we're seen as loose and promiscuous women, a stereotype persistent from slavery, stemming from the innocuous differences or the enlargements of certain parts of our anatomy. It is the reason why slave masters thought it was okay to put Sarah Bartman in a cage and cart her around from circus to circus like she was some sort of sideshow freak. Or we're seen as sapphires with this burning desire to succeed. We wake up, breathe, and eat ambition for breakfast, consume corporate ladders for lunch, dine on mergers and acquisitions for dinner until we never have to worry about a pension. We're saffronia, not your sweet thing. We don't get even or angry, we get everything. Even if that means making a dirty deal with the devil who wants nothing more than to knock us back, check our mates, cock block the next notch on our vision board, become the belted noose around our dreams and goals. But that depth of the sapphire is never showed, just archetypes of us as strong and mean, summed up by the stereotype of the angry black woman. Representation matters, and not the latest iteration of black womanhood derived from political dog whistles of the 70s and exacerbated by reality shows. You know, Ronald Reagan's welfare queen, the queen of the ghetto, the ride-or-die chick in hardcore, the woman who found love between her legs and birthed up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mini-me's trained up to beg for a hand out instead of a hand up, for boots instead of bootstraps, taking advantage of every government thing, breakfast, lunch, education, free and reduced prices because it ain't tricking if they got it. Representation matters. We are who and what we are perceived to be, even if that is the furthest thing from the truth. As Angela Davis said, black women have had to develop a larger vision of our society than perhaps any other group. We have had to understand white men, white women, black men, and we have had to understand ourselves. We understand who and what we are, what we believe in, and what we stand for. It is why we put so much emphasis on how we present ourselves to the world, because representation and presentation matters. Is our head wrap or African print skirt too ethnic? Is our twist out too militant? Our fro too pantheresque? Are our heels too inviting because they pimp out our behinds? Is our hair too conforming? Is our weave too fake or unbelieving? I have agonized over how I was going to wear my hair tonight since the day I found out I was accepted to be a speaker back in November, because representation and presentation matters. Nothing is more uncomfortable than explaining your authenticity or inauthenticity to a gaze that is more critical than understanding. A coworker who looks at you with a side eye and a smile and says, "That's cute," or "That's different for the office," or my favorite, the high-pitched voice and the outstretched hand, "I love your hair, is it real?" Representation and presentation matters. It is the reason why I wrote my debut novel for women, inspired by the big girls who danced in Miss Simone's song, angry at the 2011 Psychology Today article that said black women were the least attractive group of people on the planet, bombarded by doctored reality shows that only seem to show us acting a fool, and inundated by stories about us that aren't always written for us or narrated by us, where Oprah Winfrey, Shonda Rhimes, Ava DuVernay, Debbie Allen, Kerry Washington, Issa Rae, Lena Waithe are still visionary groundbreakers, becoming first, including Oprah at this year's Golden Globes, being honored with the Cecil B. DeMille Award. There are still so many black women just like them and nothing like them, with stories of our own to tell, be it in boardrooms, classrooms, courtrooms, or screening rooms. Representation matters. Oscars So White is not just a hashtag or trending topic. Me Too is not just a hashtag or trending topic. Time's Up is not just a hashtag or trending topic. Our lives are not just a hashtag or trending topic. And Wakanda should be more than a utopian ideal that only exists in blockbuster movies rather than a goal that we strive toward every day. Representation matters. There is a line in one of my favorite movies, The Color Purple by Alice Walker, that was adapted from her novel. In it, Shug Avery says to Miss Seeley, "I think it pisses God off if you walk past the color purple in a field and don't notice it." As black women, we are that color purple. We see us, each other, preening and primping in all of our queenly, radiant, royal glory. Do you? That is all we want from men and women, no matter race, creed, or code, to be seen and heard. See us, the real us, the vulnerable us, not just your version of us. Acknowledge us. If you have a question, ask us. Have a seat at our table, because representation matters.